Flavor Flav.
Yeah, boy.
Hey, yo, check 1, 2. This is Flavor Flav in the building for the Better Agency. Nicholas wants everyone to know how they need to listen to the truth that Nick and Preston are giving them. Flavor Flav shouting y'all out right now. You heard me? So hold it down and keep making it a better agency. Alright?
Welcome to another episode of the Better Podcast. My name is Nicholas Ayers. Preston, go ahead and give me your name.
Preston Schmidley.
From where, Preston? Where are you from?
I am from Tacoma, Washington, relocating to Mesa, Arizona. Well, Queen Creek, but East Phoenix.
The East Valley here in Arizona, where all the cool people are coming to live. So if you are cool, then make sure you come down to the East Valley, Arizona, and let's hang out. But we're here today for another episode of the Better Podcast, and I'm excited for today's show because we have a fellow Arizona native and also Washington native. He holds dual residency, Jeromy Huerta. And you know what's cool? You know, people talk about it being cool to have, a 7-figure agency, and that is cool. They talk about it being cool to have a company car, own a building. All that stuff is cool. But you know what's really cool? I feel like Justin Timberlake in that in the Social Network movie. You know what's really cool? What's really cool is when you have got a plan in place and you buy other agencies and you buy them for what you want to buy them for. You buy the type of agency that you want to buy, and you almost make that in and of itself your business. Jeromy's got a really interesting story. Not too many people know about Jeromy. Jeromy isn't some, regular mom and pop scratch agent. Jeromy has got multiple offices, multiple employees. He's got a full team. He runs his agency like an organization, which is how I think most insurance agents need to start looking at their business. And what Jeromy does is, while his team is doing the binding, the quoting, all that other stuff, Jeromy's looking to grow through acquisition, and he's finding agencies wherever they might be, whether they be in Chicago, whether they be in Sandusky, Ohio, whether they be in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, whether they be in Jacksonville, Florida, or right here in Arizona, and he's buying the ones that he wants to buy. And I think for me, I'm speaking for myself here. There's almost like it's like a status badge. Like, that's cool. I mean, that sounds pretty rad. And we had Jeromy on our podcast, and he kind of talked to us about his philosophy, and I thought it was really, really interesting. I almost don't want to talk too much about it because I feel like we're giving away some, he got out of his bag.
Yeah, he plays the game at a meta level, whereas most insurance agents, I like to, relate a lot of things to like war and combat, because I think that there's an element of that to all aspects of life. Most insurance agents are in the trenches most of their day, right? They're selling policies, they're calling the underwriter, they're, doing a service request. They're in the trenches. They're on the front lines, right? And well, what was cool with Jeromy was he used to be that way too, right? And we all sell policies, even as owners. You'll get the opportunity. You're like, all right, well, it's in my lap. I'll just take care of it. There's nothing wrong with that. But he was like, you know what? I'm a general. What am I doing here? And he started to look at his opportunities rather than him shooting a gun. He's like, I'm way more valuable telling everybody else where they need to shoot, but also strategically flanking the field, right? Like he really leverages and arbitrages these acquisitions in a way that I think most people, they kind of overlook, and just the way he plays the game it's on another level, man. And I'm really excited for this one.
Tell me, give me the formal definition of the word arbitrage.
Yeah. So arbitrage is the purchasing. So it's normally an investment term, right? But it's the idea of acquiring an asset at a certain price and then selling it for a higher number, right? So there's positive arbitrage and negative arbitrage.
He's fix and flip. He's the fix and flip of the insurance industry.
Yeah, except for he doesn't need to flip it, because he turns it into a cash cow. And that's the cool part, is he makes things that are generally unprofitable vastly profitable, and that has allowed him to have exponential growth. And I think it's kind of in a desert of insurance. He's found this oasis of growth and wealth. And I think that there's a lot that most agents that are selling insurance and maybe want to make some small acquisitions or whatever, I think that there's a ton of wisdom here to be gained. He's a plethora of knowledge.
And he's also one of the cool street to hang around with. So we want you to enjoy this episode of the Better Podcast, which is brought to you by Better Agency. If you're looking for more ways to communicate with your clients, your prospects, your leads, if you're looking for a way to bind more policies, make more money, and keep the money that you're making, then go ahead and start a trial of Better Agency today. For $1, you can start a 14-day trial of Better Agency. Simply go to www.betteragency.io. www.betteragency.io. It's not .com, it's .io. We couldn't get the .com. We will one day, but for now it's .io. So enjoy this episode of the Better Podcast with our friend, your friend, Jeromy Huerta. All right, we're joined today by Jeromy Huerta, who has dual residency in both the state of Washington, home state of Preston Schmidley, and the new home state of Preston Schmidley here in Arizona. Jeromy, welcome to the podcast. I know you've been a Better Agency user now for a little while, but more importantly than that, you've been an agency owner for some time. You've got a really unique story, and I think you've got a really interesting model that not too many agents even think about. You think about agency acquisition in a way that nobody wants to. And I think that's why you've had some level of success. Tell us a little bit about, kind of how you got into the business. Tell us how you started to dabble in this mindset of, I want to start acquiring agencies.
Yeah, so I started, 2006. So it's been just over 14 years, right? Started out of the bedroom of my house. Was lucky enough to partner with one of my best friend's dads, because I had no experience in insurance. And, what we did is we just hustled dealerships at the time, right? So we'd go in, solicit dealerships, beeper agents, on-call agents, whatever you want to refer them to. And they would call us, and slowly grew it that way, hired more agents. We expanded into different states. We had to, because we were out of the bedroom. I started out of the bedroom of my house. We were paperless back then, which was unheard of. So you had to find ways to, I don't want to say automate, but use technology where maybe they weren't back then, like electronic signature and that.
Did you say you were paperless in 06?
We were, yeah.
That's impressive.
I wasn't going to have all these files in my garage or in my house, right?
Right. Yeah.
So as paperless as you can be. But after doing that for a long time, it was just a lot of churn and burn, and really not on the sales side, but on the service side, right? You have to have people staffed. You have to accommodate a lot of clients. It could be high maintenance for whatever reasons. So, a few years ago, we kind of got out of that, and we just started to write more standard business. And that doesn't mean necessarily auto home, but higher limits, prior insurance, a little better risk profile, people that would stay longer. As we did that, what I've found, and maybe we'll get into this later, is that for a while, it's like, let's get out of this. But we didn't have a clear path to go towards, right? Like we didn't say, hey, we're going to work with real estate agents, or we didn't say we're going to work with mortgage brokers. We figured would work our book, a lot of monoline, would work referrals and that. So really, as good as bad as it sounds, until probably middle of last year, we kind of wandered for a while, right? Like we didn't have a direct source of referrals coming in or a business model. I felt like, hey, this is what we want to do. Mm-hmm. So as we were figuring that out, we went, I figured we grew so much by organic growth, but I started looking at acquisition. No offense, Preston, we wanted to leave the Northwest, as you know now, and go to some sunny skies. So
I don't blame you.
I acquired my first agency in Scottsdale.
Nice.
We moved down here, and in the same time, I had a rep refer me to a smaller agency up there in Washington while I was moving. So within 2 months, I bought and acquired my first two agencies.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. So you had acquired two agencies, Jeromy, and what at the time, I mean, I'd imagine that, what era was this, first of all? Like what year were you acquiring these?
So we were looking to move for quite a while, right? 5 kids trapped in the house, 9 months out of the year, not cool. So my wife's from Arizona. I went to school at Arizona State, go Sun Devils. So, I started looking. So in 2016, when it closed, it was like, all right, we're going to acquire this. We're going to move, get out of the Northwest. So that was just over 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 years ago, June.
So not terribly long ago. So what did you find, with your first 2 acquisitions, what did you find being some of the biggest hurdles that you encountered? Like, I'd imagine that you don't have the same flow that you do today. You probably had to get your teeth kicked in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, realize that was when it probably first started seeing is we don't have processes, right? So you start getting exposed, right? I'm a big sports fan. And I love analogies with sports is, you might think you have a good team and you go play someone else and they just literally expose your weaknesses depending on what they are. So a lot of unknowns, right? I mean, simple stuff as in they weren't paperless. They had all paper files.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, even getting all those documents into your system electronically, right? I thought it'd be like 3-6 months max. Ended up being, over 12 months.
Wow.
Markets, that's another big thing is, consolidating your markets, right? So you have all these companies and a lot of people I talk to will acquire to get an appointment or they want to move up, right? And be in a better position. I look at it from a standpoint as in, I want to buy something that isn't up to our standard, right? Or doesn't have as good as markets or doesn't have as good a technology. So a lot of the processes, I would say, Preston, and
it's awesome.
There's a whole lot to it, but just the transition.
You're a problem solver. That's what I'm hearing from that is like you like to you enjoy, like, to you a distressed agency is almost like a sandbox for you to play in, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. If we do things well. And the other thing is, just to be honest, is people don't like those, right? So why would I go out? Everybody wants auto home umbrella package. Everybody wants that, even the captives, right? So if I can go and find something that isn't in good condition and people don't want, one, I'm going to get a better deal. And then 2, I can go in there and improve it in the way that I see fit.
Love it.
Now, before we jump on the call, you were telling me, you have a goal in mind now, and your goal is you've kind of scaled out your team. You've kind of put these processes in place. I know you're using Better Agency, and you've kind of had this kind of light bulb go off in your head, and now you're at a place where you think that you can write, or your desire is to write $500,000 in personal lines premium every single month. $500,000.
Yes.
Some agents struggle with writing $50,000 a month. You're saying, you know what? I think I have what it takes now. Probably wasn't always the case, but I have what it takes now with the things in place now that I believe I can write $500,000 in premium. Tell us a little bit about how that light switch went off in your head from just kind of being that, and I'll use your words, kind of that average agent, to now writing, enough premium in 1 month that most agents might write in their entire life.
Well, the first thing is why not, right? And I'm not saying, when I say average, I'm talking about myself, right?
Yeah, of course.
So if I'm going to work, I don't work because I love insurance. Sorry, I don't. I'd rather be coaching basketball.
All right, guys, that's a great show. We've had Jeromy doesn't love insurance, and so
call it quit.
Yeah, no.
And if I'm going to do something, I don't. It's not the money. You want to make money, but it's just how far can you push yourself, right? Sure. How great can you become? And if you're not separating yourself somehow, and I don't care what other people do, I'm not comparing myself. I don't care for accolades.
Right.
But if I know someone's out there and they're doing this or they're doing that, doesn't matter how big they are, it always comes back to me, why not? So it's taken me a while. Part of that is learning the automation, right? That's why I just dabbled in it last year. We brought an active campaign. And then when we saw Better Agency, it was like, this is a no-brainer because I don't know automation. I don't understand it. But before I switched, it was like, this is laid out, right? It's simple. Right. This is created for other people. So that gave me confidence because I knew if we drive leads, if I acquire and we cross-sell or we do all these things, it has to be, I got to partner with a system that has flexibility and makes it easy for me, right? If I have to have a build out every time I want to target a certain niche and it's going to take X amount of money, or if I acquire and it's going to take X amount of money and X amount of time, it's just not possible. So I feel like I'm in a position.
Yeah, you're having to rebuild the car and reinvent the wheel every single time, and that is difficult. I think the people in any industry, the ones who are able to create a repeatable, predictable process that maybe has to adapt a little bit when they do different things, but they have this repeatable thing that they can do over and over again for success. I think that's where the money is found.
Well, I think also the thing that's really valuable for anybody listening or watching this to take away is you obviously saw the value in automation and using an efficient technology and tool to support you in your agency. You saw the value in that, but you also realized like I'm not going to build this. It's like one thing to recognize something's necessity, but another, like a lot of insurance agents feel like I need to learn all of this. It's like, that's what Nick and I did, and that's a journey.
It's a full-time job, really, and it's you need to get it done, but you don't want to have to do it, and so you've delegated out of yourself to something that is already solving, who can solve that problem for you. It's no different than having to hire somebody who's going to be your CEO or your CFO or whatever, and so you've delegated that, and it just happens to be a piece of a product.
Yeah, and it's got to be, I'm not going to go hire someone, it'd be great having someone on the team full time that can do that out. But if there's an ops manager or whatever it is, they got to be able to come in and understand the systems, right? And that's what I like about Better Agency. But, the only thing I'll ever brag about is I'll brag about the things I don't know. And I don't want to know everything. I don't care to know everything. I just want to feel like we're maximizing our potential and we're trying to accomplish whatever, we set out to do. And that might change as we move forward. But I love growth. I love new business, right? That's exciting. And when I did dealerships, that's what I loved is we were always writing each agent, 70 to 100,000+ a month. And there's just something about that, right? There's something about, it's like watching basketball and the teams are scoring 120+ points. It's just constant offense.
Yeah. One thing that I think is like a lesson that anybody listening or watching this can take away from it too is you recognize that you don't want to learn everything. You don't want to do everything. That's probably one of the biggest pitfalls I feel like newer agencies, or at least, a lot of younger agencies, I should say, fall into is they try to be everything for everybody, right? They don't try to serve a certain niche because like I can't say no to that deal. Like what if I say no and then where's my next paycheck going to come from? They feel like they have to learn every single thing and do everything. I think the testament to your success is that you've really defined your expertise. You've delegated the rest. I think that's fantastic. That's a lesson that everybody could take, from your book. We're really no different than characters in a video game where you have 100 points to allocate to certain skills, and if you decide to allocate 2 or 3 to any one, to every skill, you're lucky if you're average. It's like you've just decided to put all your chips in a few things and you crush it at those. And I think that's cool. Your acquisition strategy, I think that's it's kind of mind blowing actually to see how you've managed to take that and take the growth, right? Because some people just acquire and they go, oh, I'm just going to buy. Why work when I could just buy it? Which is fair. I don't blame them for that. But you just kind of took both. You're like, well, I'm going to build a powerful motor and I'm going to throw the turbo on. It's not one or the other. I'm going to acquire and I'm going to scale. And I think that is just sick to just watch. So, I'd actually like to talk a little bit more if you'd be down, Jeromy, about like your thoughts, your processes, how you plan to approach. I know you plan on growing more and more. Like, what are your goals, or what is your direction as far as how you want to acquire more agencies going forward and scale those out?
Well, he's not going to tell you that because then he gives away Colonel Sanders' secret recipe.
Yeah, come on, man. We'll touch high level. So, I mean, it's with what you said, Preston, with what you said, just to touch on that is, yeah, that's wanting, we are not buying, I'm not acquiring anything that makes it easier. There's actually more work, right? And I don't mind that. And I'll be honest, is I tell my employees, I have a set plan and they know my plan. I said, I want to be done in 5 years. Now that doesn't mean that you all won't have jobs, but if I'm out here doing things and they don't know why, they start to wonder. I just like to be really clear. If you ask any of my employees, they know where they stand with me. I'm not going to sugarcoat things just because that's what I want, right? So when I think about growth is, I'm excited because we have processes. We have a CRM, which I'd never used in the past. I started using one last year with Better Agency. So I'm like, okay, we have these processes. I'm out of the day-to-day. We have a CRM that can help us. And we can make, our house has got to be in order, because if you're buying something if your agency internally has problems and you're buying something externally has problems, that's a recipe for disaster, right?
Sure.
Even with my company. So I have to have my house in order within my agency with systems, not perfected, but we have to know what we're doing financially, right? Because I don't have enough cash just to go out and buy all these. And the bank's got to see that. But also with my markets. So these ones that I look at, they don't have good markets, right? So I have my companies that we have a good, strong book with that I can bring there. They don't have good systems. So if my systems are better, I can bring them in there, right?
I would assume this allows you to buy these things more on the cheap too, yes?
Yeah, it does. It does. And
It's a smart model.
so we go, I think, Preston, I don't know if you asked, how we find them or come across them. It's just different ways. We make relationships. There's brokers I've worked with in the past. And for me, I'm in a position where I could hire someone to cold call, but I would rather use my time in a different way and allow the expert to do that. And I'll pay extra. I might pay $50,000 to $75,000 a year for acquisitions, but to me, it's worth it because I have an expert doing their job, and then I just come in and do my job.
Right.
And I talk to a lot of people. I use brokers, like I said. I have good relationships with reps that have referred me. There's a variety of ways. I mean, I called to talk to a guy about his agency the other day, and I wasn't interested, but he referred me to someone in another state that's older. Yeah. So I just talk to people.
So the goal essentially for you is source out books of business that are, as I this is my term, but distressed, right? Like, I don't know if you would agree with that term, but they're in need of love. You give them that love, you install systems, and you essentially are just maximizing your arbitrage because you're taking something that's kind of under market value to begin with, and you're restoring it to what it could have been, what it should have been, and you're just capitalizing on all of that growth.
Yeah, and there's one key factor here, though. So because the way I started in non-standard, right, we don't write a lot of it now, is I understand the nature of that business. I made money in that niche, and I'm not scared of it. So these agencies to look at, distressed, depends. Some of them are, but a lot of them are just non-standard. So you're having an agency that's top carriers are Progressive Safeco and Travelers. We're Progressive Platinum, so we have the package, right? We get paid more, so we write in package business, but I'm not acquiring preferred agencies, right? Like everybody wants a preferred agency. So I'm acquiring ones that people don't like because you hear the word non-standard and they're like, oh, you can't make money there, or oh, that's not good business, or whatever the case may be. And that's great for me because that's not true.
Well, it almost sounds like you're taking a non-standard book and you're kind of like gentrifying it in a way. Like you're helping those non-standard clients become standard clients.
Yeah, and each state's different. It's harder depending on the state. In the markets, in Washington, we could graduate our people up a lot. Arizona's a little bit different, right? You have more carriers, a lot of regional carriers. You have people that come in. It's a file and use state. So it just depends. But I look at them and say, hey, what can I do here? You know, the second one I bought up in Washington, it was a lot of broad form, non-standard. They didn't charge fees. So day one, we went in there and we started making $30,000 more a year just from charging a fee. We didn't change anything else. The same amount of business was written each month. We just added on a fee. That's it. And guess what? Nobody cared.
Do you usually retain the employees, and how often do you have to make changes other than like going in and overhauling like systems and processes? How often are you retaining the employees?
Yeah, I mean, each of them, I just bought one in June. I made sure that the main gal that had worked there and ran it, she stayed. I try to keep things the same. The name, you know, the companies, I'll consolidate, right? So I love non-standard, but we're not writing for companies that require us to take pictures. I don't care if my employee's got to walk 10 feet out the door. We're not taking pictures. Like, we're past those days, right? So as we improve it, we'll consolidate, and we go in and just try to give them a better situation. I'm looking at 2 others right now, and one of the key factors is, hey, will your employee or employees stay? That's a big part of it, because I don't care what state it's in, right? Like, that doesn't matter to me.
You mentioned,
as long as it's
you
a
mentioned
good book, I'm fine.
You mentioned being done in 5 years. What does life look like for you between now and the year 2025? What do you do? Are you just buying? Are you going to buy more agencies? You're going to try to add to. Give me the 30,000 foot view. What does life look like for Jeromy Huerta and his enterprise? Because that's essentially what it's becoming. What does life look like for you? What does a day in the life at your agency look like?
Yeah, a lot more gray hair because my youngest is 6, so I got 2 teenagers now, preteen. So that's the first thing I can think of is my hair will be all gray. But I love to work. I don't mind working, right? Like, I love to work and do things. I just don't like day-to-day stuff. So I don't know if I'm going to sell. We're in the process of acquisitions. We're in the process of building out a financial division too, right? So I just want to, that's kind of like a goal where I feel like if I can't get there, I'm not successful. I was supposed to do it at 45 and I didn't make it. That's a year and a half away. So that's tough to answer, Nick, but I would say I will still work. I got a lot of ideas, crazy ideas, but the part of insurance where you acquire, I love it. Like,
it's like a different game.
New.
It's like a different game.
It's complete. You take all the knowledge you have, and you can apply it to that. So I think I'll still be doing something. I don't know if I'll sell to a big bank or broker. You know, maybe I sell and stay on.
What's the over/under, you think, on the amount of people who watch this or listen to this episode that are going to solicit Jeromy, Preston, to try to buy his agency in the next 5 years? we give it 10,
Who knows?
15?
Maybe he'll find some acquisitions too that he'll get.
Yeah.
If you're looking to sell your agency, Jeromy's your boy.
Jeromy will give you top dollar. He said he'll give you 20 times EBITDA right now.
And that's what's funny you bring that up is I see, you know, part of these groups, we all are, and we see what people post online and they say, well, you shouldn't buy unless it's this, or you can't sell for this. And I just kind of laugh because on the backside, things are happening that people say shouldn't happen. And you could have someone eager to get into a state. You could have someone eager to get into a market. You could have someone that's just desperate. So, you know, I've bought and sold books. You know, I carved out a book and sold it last year, and we had a handful of people tell me I was crazy, but I ended up getting what I wanted, right? So it's just interesting is everybody's got their own point of view. I tend to gain as much knowledge as I can, but I go off experience, right? That's what I'm going to go off.
Well, it seems like the way that you've approached it is almost at a meta level. Like, it's not even, you know, you're playing chess and it just happens to be, you know, everybody's used to thinking on the battlefield and you're moving the pieces on a board. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, the way that you're thinking about the insurance world is, it's a different level, and I like it because you're right. It's an art as much as it's a science, regardless of where you're at. It's easy to look at it and be like, yeah, sure, 2x, 3x, whatever. It's like there's so many variables that neglects, you know, and you're processing those. I think that's I think that's fantastic. I mean, that's a testament to your success too. Like that's, because you do have a healthy perspective on the situation.
Back to your question though, Nick, I think I'll still be involved in insurance. I don't think,
maybe you'll be a broker or a consultant of some sort.
Could be. Yeah. I don't know. The financial side that we've started building this out, it's really exciting. It's different. It's new, right? There's a lot of things you can do there. So, I could see myself getting out of running an agency or owning one P&C wise, but I don't see myself getting out of acquisition. I just love that process too much.
Isn't this industry just like a drug? It's like no matter how many times you try to stop it, it's that scene from Godfather where Michael Corleone's like, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. It's every time you think, this is the end of the road for me, it's like you find some other way to stay involved. It's a weird industry that way. I don't know too many other industries that act like the insurance industry.
Yeah, for real.
It's a good industry though, right? Look at
it's a great industry.
And I think that's why. I think it keeps a lot of people in is because with everything that's going on in the world and the economy, it's pretty stable, right? Not saying people haven't been affected, but I've thought, man, I'm not lying. There's multiple times before I first went to the first IOA conference in Vegas. I've been asked to coach basketball that year, and after being on the court, I played in high school, a little bit in college, and hearing the sneakers and the smell and the ball going through the hoop, I was like this close to selling. I was done. Because I was coaching every day, and I loved it. And then I went back to doing insurance. So I've come close, but it just doesn't make sense. There's a lot of opportunity. I've found I can take my knowledge and not have to run an agency and still use it to my benefit and still grow income. So, it's when that dries out, then we'll see.
Jeromy, in closing, talk to the agency owner who is where you were 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and they're there. They were exactly where you were at. And I for us in the know, on this call, we've kind of been able to see a transformation. But other agency owners who were where you at 2 years ago are looking at it and they're going, that can't be me. I can't do that. That's not me. What would you say to those people, whether it was about about systems and processes, about the need to shore up their own, infrastructure, about the renewed kind of finding passion in what you're doing? What would you say to Jeromy 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, great question.
Well, I only ever ask great questions, by the way. So, I mean, that's a given. But go ahead.
I've been around you a lot. I can't agree with that all the time, but we'll say that one is. So I would say know the direction you want to go, right? And put a plan in place to execute that. Sometimes it takes longer. It's just a grind. I tell my kids all the time is, we live comfortably, not because I'm super smart, talented, any of those things, but I just continued to work, at something, even when I didn't want to. So, but if I could look back, it's like, know what direction you want to go, plan out better, which I didn't do. After dealerships, I didn't have a plan, right? I didn't know a few years ago what direction I want to go. Luckily, I followed into video with the stuff that you have done with Made You Look, getting into driving leads online and different stuff. But then I would say the biggest key is, and I don't see this all the time, is be versatile, right? Be willing to adapt and change and gain as much knowledge as you can, but then take that, internalize it, and execute on what you think is best. I think a lot of people are unwilling to look outside the box. So when I started to just write preferred business, whatever you want to call it, package business, if I was like, that's all I'm going to do, well, then I would have missed out on one of my non-standard companies who referred me an agency, and I end up making a good deal of money off it, right? So I think some people are so set on certain things that they're unwilling to open their mind and see if they can make something work and fit into what they do and not have to change a whole lot.
That makes sense.